Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, here to answer a question. It was, why did I buy this Shimano Sienna combination when the reel has no handle and the tip top is broken off? This is a 6'6" rod that is currently about 6'3". The last piece broke off, and I paid $10 for it. And somebody said, "Why'd you buy that?" Well, one, I can do a YouTube video on it, I guess. I like these particular rods and reels, and truth of the matter is, I have a box of handles here, so the handle will fit the reel, and the reel can be tuned up. This one's brand new. This one was a manufacturer's return. Got returned because of the damage to the top, I'm sure, and if it was in any one of these discount stores, I'm sure somebody bothered to take the handle off just for fun, just so they couldn't sell it. So it comes back to the manufacturer. Somebody bought a lot of these and told me I could have this one for $10, and when the opportunity comes up for $10 to do a YouTube video on a reel that some folks will have, and something that I can finish, give to somebody to go fishing, well, they're not going to mind that it's a 6'3" rod, and they're certainly going to appreciate that they can have a rod and reel to go fishing, particularly as the opening day starts. So we're going to do a tune-up on the Sienna reel, and then I'll show you my plans for the rod. Maybe I'll start in reverse. On the rod, all I'm going to do is take a razor knife and go below the last eyelet that had broken off. And if I press down, generally I can get a clean cut. There we go. So I have that clean cut, and if you're into rod, reel service and repair, you know that you can get plenty of kits out there with lots of different tip tops. All we have to do is kind of line up the one that's going to work. And of course it's an odd size now because you're in the middle of the blank. But once you find the right one, all we have to do is glue that on. And we'll have a nice functioning rod. I imagine that I'll find some worthy child somewhere. That's a little too loose. That one looks like it'll be just right. Yep, with a little bit of effort there. That's the right one. We'll line that up and we'll get that on there. You'll use rod cement for that, and that rod will be ready to go fishing. So let's turn our attention to the Sienna then. That's a popular reel, and as many of you know, I say all reels need the service regardless of the cost of the reel, and that's what we'll turn our attention to right now. We'll see if we can get this lined up a little bit better for the servicing here, and we'll show you this. This is a Sienna. I like the reel, and let's see what size it is. It's a 2500 size, which says it's appropriate for the freshwater or inshore fishing. It's a Shimano, so you know that there's some thought and detail into it, and there should be some level of quality to it as well. And we'll start by taking that spool off, and as we do, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you like fishing reel repair, if you like to understand how rods and reels are made, particularly the reels, how they come together, in this case how they come apart, and how to service them. Well, this is the right place for that. You can tell that this has been back at a distributor. It's been sitting in a warehouse for a while. We got all kinds of dust and dirt under there, but overall you can also see that it's a very clean reel, and all this really needs is the handle, I think, but we'll certainly go the extra loop with this to show you. So I took the spool off, I just took the click ratchet off. We're removing the hold fast screw from the rotor, and now we should be able to remove that nut. That nut looks to be a 12mm nut, and I have a 12mm deep socket that I use for that. It's an old Mitchell tool. You don't need the Mitchell tool. You can use a deep socket. And in this case, you might have been able to do this with a 12mm wrench because you have a small lip on the rotor. So you probably could get the open end wrench in there or the box wrench as well. Once you take that off, we want to remove the rotor now. Simply walk that up the pinion. We have one big anti-reverse bearing here. When you take these bearings off, if you choose to take these bearings off, leave the one screw here that's holding the case together. If you want this, as I mentioned, this is a new reel, but we're kind of pretending that you're servicing this reel instead. And the service of this reel would be to remove this anti-reverse clutch and the collar that goes along with it, so that you could go and service the bearing that is underneath this. Now, I don't know much about this reel. I've worked on the smaller Shimano reels before. I did not pull a schematic. What I did do was take the 3 screws out and lay them on my desk. And when I laid them on my desk, I wanted to make sure that they were all the same size. We're going to adjust this just a little bit down. I apologize if you're getting seasick with that camera, but I did want to show the 3 screws that I took out. I put on my desk first to make sure that they were all the same size, and I'm putting all my pieces into a parts tray. It's nothing more than the bottom of a fast food container. With those 3 screws out now, we can take the anti-reverse clutch off, and there's a collar behind there. And then we have the bearing and the pinion gear. Before I do that, I want to take the bottom case off. I can pull that off now and have the axle shaft just kind of flopping around there, but let's go ahead and go to the bottom. And these reels typically take about 15 minutes to service. I don't know what the length of the video is going to be here, because we did a little bit on the front end of this. But the net of it is, if you have a reel like this, take the time once a year to go service it. It's just not that hard to do, and it'll keep that reel fishing for a very long time to come. Alright, well, I'm going to put those 2 pieces, the anti-reverse collar and shield, into my parts tray. I'm going to find a micro screwdriver to take the bump guard off the bottom here. Now, fishing reel purists would say that that rod was not worth it because, well, you're going to lose the flex in the tip, and that could cost you a fish somewhere along the line. You know what? This is a lower end rod and reel combination. I'm sure there are hundreds of kids out there that would be happy to call it theirs, and most people are not going to notice that the rod is 3 inches shorter because we had to do that adjustment to take that eyelet off and put the other clip on. So know your audience, know what your intentions are with this, and if it is, don't shy away from anybody who says, well, it's a bad deal. Look at this reel. This reel's got 3 ball bearings in it. This is a nice little reel with a lot packed into it, and I'm kind of surprised that the construction of this is as nice as it is. Alright, we're going to take off the screw that's holding the axle shaft to the crosswind block. Notice that little bar is coming off underneath the case there. That's going to be a guide bar for the crosswind, and if you're not paying attention, it is going to slide out. So I just pushed my finger over there for that. And we should be able to remove the axle at this point. Now we can remove the main gear, and you can see we still have all the factory grease in there, so there's not much to do here. But again, if you're servicing it, you want to remove all of the pieces. What you would do next is you would take that bar, slide the bar out from the bottom, just like that. I'm going to leave these on the table because we're going to just put them right back in. You're going to remove the crosswind block. Then you're going to remove the crosswind gear. Just need a little pliers to grab that. And then, of course, up top here, we've had the pinion gear and the bearing there, so just pull that out. So we have a 3-ball bearing reel. It's made by Shimano that was attached to a rod with a broken tip, the reel missing the handle. The cost was $10, and there's no question that there's value in this, even if I never got around to the rod. So Fishing reel repair is all about cleaning, servicing, checking the parts, making sure that they're all good, and just relubing, re-oiling, and getting it back out there going again. So all we have to do in terms of servicing this now is to reverse the process. I'm going to take the bearing, I'm going to take some fishing reel oil and oil that bearing. And I believe these bearings are shielded, not sealed, so they will absorb the oil. And they just need a little bit of oil just to keep them fresh. Normally, if this is your reel and you've been fishing it for a year, you want to inspect all the teeth. You want to make sure that they're all uniform, not chipped, cracked, or broken in any regard. And then this is the oscillation or crosswind gear. So this gets grease everywhere. It gets grease in the teeth, gets grease on the back side where it's going to glide against the case. Put a little bit of grease in the hole where it's going to ride on the stud. And you put grease onto the face, which is where the Crosswind block is going to ride. And go ahead and put that on, just like that. Now we can take a look at the Crosswind block itself. Of course, this reel hasn't been fished, so there's no evidence of dirt or grime or old greases or that. So go ahead and put some grease into the channel, and then load your Crosswind gear onto the stud on the Crosswind block, just like that. Now we have that bar that's going to go in next. That slides in through the hole in the case, and then you need to line up the Crosswind hole in the block, and then the hole in the case where it seats. It'll take a little bit of time. So as I'm taking that time, if you have a question on this reel or any reel in particular, if you want to learn more about it, if you have a video, maybe you're working on one and you're stuck, those kinds of things, just let me know. Leave it in the comment section. I'll be happy to provide you with the information that you need. Maybe you're looking for a part. Maybe I know where to get that part. Maybe you have a question because something's stuck. I just got one in from England, which was good, about an anti-reverse feature. And the reel isn't sold here, but we were able to find a comparable reel to help answer that question. All right, that's fresh grease in the channels there. If it was old grease, you would just kind of get a thin screwdriver or a pick or something like that. Just ride it in the groove and get the old grease out. Because that's factory grease, we're just going to leave it there. I'm going to put a fresh coat of grease on, though. I'm using a fishing reel grease. It's Penn Precision Reel Grease. And I recommend that the only grease you use is fishing reel grease. I've had people ask me about Vaseline and all kinds of things. You can put anything you want in the reel. It's your reel. I don't recommend it. Okay, we can take the pinion gear, put that back in. I did not oil that bearing, so I'm going to do that right now. Now we're going to put the collar back on. I'm going to take the collar. Now notice there's two sides on this collar. There's a small side, a smaller diameter on the outside on the one, and then the bottom side is a wider diameter, and it goes on with the small side facing down. Sometimes I get that question from folks. They say, I put my anti-reverse on, it doesn't work anymore. What happened? Well, if you look on the inside of this, you'll notice that the roller bearings are on the top of the assembly, and they're not on the bottom. So in order for the roller bearings to grab that collar, the wide side has to be up top. Go reseat that. Then you need to line that up. There's going to be two studs. You'll see them here on the bottom, and there's two holes for those studs. And then you want to find the one where the hole for the stud is next to the hole for the screw. And then you've got that lined up properly. Take those three screws that we took out along the way. We'll put those back in now. And I know I've asked before, but again, since I have a moment here, if you do subscribe to my channel and hit the notification button, you'll see all the reels that I'm working on. And you'll see videos on spinning reels like this one, freshwater like this one. You'll see saltwater, you'll see trolling reels, conventional reels, bait casting reels. I kind of do just about everything. And if you hit that notification button, you'll see when I'm doing or when I'm posting reels that I've done. and you'll be able to make a decision as to whether you want to go see that particular video. And notification and subscription is the best way to do that. Alright, we're just doing the same thing here. We've checked the teeth, they're all fine. That's fresh grease inside there. I don't know how old this, or how long this has been sitting around, but the grease certainly hasn't been deteriorated from it. But we're doing this as an example because of those of you that may have this reel or a similar Shimano reel. I'm going to put the main gear in now. Once you've installed the anti-reverse clutch, but before you put the rotor on, you want to take your axle shaft, put a light coat of grease onto that, find the flat side of your axle shaft, and insert that through the hole in the pinion gear and into the crosswind block. And sometimes you just got to juggle it around a little bit because the crosswind block will be off just a hair. But eventually you'll line it up. There we go. And make sure that the hole for the crosswind block screw is in the hole for the axle shaft, and then we can grab our small screw. I put a dot of grease on there to hold that small screw, and we'll put that in. Now the reason we're working this way is that case has an upper lip on it, and you have to actually close the case up before you can put the rotor on. So we've oiled the bearing on this side of the case. The case goes on next. Nice snap. We'll take our 3 case screws that we know are all the same, so it doesn't matter which hole they go in. We'll put that on. And I've got the other parts standing by here. So we'll tighten these down. So I just returned from a flea market. That's where I got this, and we were selling over in New Jersey. And I want to say a shout out and thanks to everybody who was at the show and came forward and kind of introduced themselves. It's always nice to meet some of the viewers out there, and again, I'm appreciative of everybody who watches, and I really want to say thanks to the folks that took the time to stop by and tell me how much they've enjoyed the videos. I really do feel humbled by that, and I do appreciate the input. Alright, the rotor goes on next. There's 2 flat sides on the rotor. There's 2 flat sides opposing on the pinion gear. Let's go ahead and put that on. Let's take that rotor screw now, or nut now, screw it on. It came off in a counterclockwise manner, so it's going right back on in the traditional clockwise manner. For those of us that have only learned how to tell time digitally, the traditional clockwise manner is turning it away from you. Alright, I'm going to use my wrench. Again, you can use an open end wrench if you like to in this one, or you can use a deep socket. You don't need that tool to do that work. Alright, we have that little tie down screw that goes on next. And we'll dig that handle that I had out of that box of handles I have for these reels. When I saw this one, the first thing I did, I looked for the square hole, and I know that I have the handles for the square hole. The only thing I'm not going to have is the little cap that goes on there. There's a little plastic washer that goes onto the screw that holds the handle in. And then I think that screw has got some version of Loctite on it. Let's go ahead and put that on. And again, there's a nut cap that goes there, but you know what? I know that whoever gets this reel is not going to worry too much about that little cap. Look at that. That's a nice little turning reel. Got the dust up top here. Just going to take a rag for now, clean that off. Looks like this one, I'm thinking it came pre-spooled, but I don't know now. I don't know if this was a customer return or a customer who took the rod, but you know, missing that handle is usually a sign that says that the handle was removed in a store. Common theft item, I guess. Just bothers me. But it may have been that this was a combo, came with the line, got back to the distributor, the little seal for the line kind of broke off, whatever. You know, oops. There you go, that was an oops. There's a couple of things left in my parts tray. One of them is this. It's that little click ratchet and spool shim. Put that on. Now we have the adjuster knob, which probably should get cleaned as well. Nice looking reel. 3 ball bearings, freshwater, light inshore, solid construction. More advanced than most of the 2500 reels you're going to see out there. And all we have to do now is put that little bump guard in so that we can hold that bar from slipping. That's going to go this way. Pay attention on these bump guards. Don't go jamming something if it's not holding or if you can't get it, because if you break one of those little studs that goes inside the holders, that bump guard isn't going to work, and then you're going to have more problems downstream. All right, let's get that screw in here and we'll give it a test ride. So, note to anyone who goes to these flea markets and that, keep your eyes open, think flexibility, and you know, it doesn't hurt to take something that, you know, looks like it's given up for lost. In this case, looking at a reel didn't have a handle and a pole that didn't have a top eyelet, and just making the best out of it. So how did we do? Smooth. I like this one. I like this one. All right, and then on the Shimano pole, well, we have the eyelet, and all we're going to do with that eyelet is we're just going to put a little bit of rod cement on there. We'll align that with the end tip here, and the tip top will be on. This rod and reel combination, I'll get a second chance. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Please, if you did, like it, and stay tuned for more. To everybody who's involved in healthcare, thank you for your efforts during the pandemic. To all uniformed services and support personnel and essential personnel keeping us safe, thank you. And to everybody, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.